Thanks, Chrissy, and thanks everyone for coming along. Today I want to diversify. We're going to talk about tin. A little bit of background on our company. This is actually, I think, the fifth time that I've presented Caspin at the RIU Explorers Conference. Thanks to the support, the sponsors and organisers for having us here again. There's the corporate background. The only thing I want you to pay attention to on that slide is market cap, which will become relevant further in the presentation. You'll see that we've had a reasonably good run over the last couple of months. And I also want you to look at the significant shareholders there. You'll notice that Lion Selection Group are on our register. We were delighted to have them become part of our company last year. So, and the boys are here at the conference. Feel free to talk to them about Caspin and get their perspective on why they have invested in us. So we actually have many projects, the two legacy projects here in Western Australia, but I'm going to talk about Bygoo. I'd love to talk about Weethale Gold Project, which is in the neighbourhood as well today, but the limitations of time, feel free to come by the booth and we'll talk about that there. But today is all about the Bygoo Tin Project. And why are we talking about tin? Because tin is the original critical metal. It goes way back to the Bronze Age, in fact. We are surrounded by tin and most people don't even know it. Tin's primary use is in solder. It's holding every electronic device you have together, basically. So we're all reasonably familiar with copper, you know, poles and wires, and we understand that. But once you get to that device, it's all held together by tin. And as you'll see from that chart, this has pretty much gone under the radar, but tin has had a remarkable run over the last 12 months. And more or less kept in pace with copper, which everybody's reasonably familiar with. The long-term fundamentals are fantastic. It's all about electrification. So if you believe in that electrification thematic, which we all hear about, then you need to have some exposure to tin. Now, the large institutional and sophisticated investors are waking up to this. There's been some significant investments in other companies in recent times, but I fear that this may have been missed by you, the retail investors, because it doesn't get talked about a lot, but we're going to talk about it today. So our project in central west New South Wales, a fantastic region. The Ardlethan mine that we surround was once the largest tin producer on mainland Australia. We have a resource, we have a very large exploration target. We've done some met work which shows that we can get this rock, the minerals out of the rock, all very important. And we'll go into that in some more detail. So that's what the resource looks like. This was a really significant milestone for the company last year to release the maiden resource. Just under 20,000 tonnes of contained tin at 0.5%. Now, actually, let me just go back a step, sorry. You'll also see on that chart the actual, the axes are different there. Just for reference, tin trades at about 3.5 times copper. So a lot of people don't actually understand what a good tin grade is. But if you put it in copper equivalent terms, you start to get a sense of what that means. And so when we talk about a resource of 0.5% tin, this is kind of like the equivalent of, say, 1.8% copper. And we're talking about open pit mining. So very simple, from surface. So we think this is very economic. It's also contained within a much larger exploration target. We're reasonably confident that we can double this resource. And so, to that end, we are currently undertaking a 5,000 metre drill program to expand that resource. There's a lot of gaps in it. A lot of the resources that currently stands is actually constrained pretty much by the limitations of drilling. So there's lots of gaps. A lot of the previous drilling focused on historical workings without stepping out along the granite contact which hosts the mineralisation. And we believe mineralisation should be, more or less continuous along that contact. But beyond that, and this is where things get really exciting, there's evidence of mineralisation over a very broad area. And that evidence is historical workings going back 100 years, which our geos have crawled all over and mapped and sampled, and you'll see there's some quite significant grades of mineralisation just around surface everywhere. So we're quite keen to step out from Kelpie. We think there's very good potential to find other deposits in that vicinity. But then Kelpie itself, the Kelpie deposit, probably represents only 5% of the prospective target or the prospective zone of mineralisation at the Bygoo project. We have about 20 kilometres of prospective strike along the granite contact, or along the Ardlethan granite contact, most of which has not had any modern exploration. It's all relatively straightforward. The reasons why it's underexplored go back decades to suppress tin price. That's not the case anymore. If this was a gold project out the back of Kalgoorlie, it would be peppered. One of those more important prospects for us is an area called Ardlethan East. It's basically right on the doorstep of the old Ardlethan mine. I should stress that's not part of our project, but our tenement boundary goes right up to the mine edge, and we think there is very good prospects for finding similar ore bodies to Ardlethan in the vicinity. Ardlethan's produced over 30,000 tonnes of tin. I think the inventory is about 50,000, so a very large deposit. And so that's, we also intend to drill some of these other regional targets during this current campaign and throughout the year. It'll be a very busy year for us. Now, the other bit of work, and it's something that not a lot of people understand, but we have undertaken some very important met test work. We did two things. It's really important with a tin project that you can extract most of the metal through simple gravity processes. Now, cassiterite, the host mineral, is very dense and it separates quite easily from the lighter gangue around it, which means if you can separate with gravity, it's a relatively simple plant, which means low capital requirements and then reasonably easy to run, so low operating costs. So if you can extract most of the metal using gravity, you're well on the way to an economic project. But in the high tin price environment that we currently find ourselves in, we can also go down a route where we do flotation at the back end to recover some of the fine tin that can't be recovered through gravity to maximise our recovery. And so to that end, we were able to produce a tin concentrate over 50%. 50% is kind of the benchmark. Anything above that is good. At over 80% recovery, almost 84% recovery. Now, there's not a lot to compare that to. I encourage you to look at Metals X. The Renison mine is the only other tin producer in Australia. And they operate around that 80% mark. So we are very confident that this is a potential mine that could be very profitable. Now, there's lots of room for improvement. One of those ways we can do that is through ore sorting, so that's a pre-beneficiation. We've done some CITA work on that to demonstrate that that is also potentially viable. And this is where things really get interesting for you, the investor, is the value proposition. So this is the ASX universe for tin players with a resource as it currently stands. There's some other tin explorers out there, and you'll probably hear from one later on today. But at the current juncture, that's it. There's only a handful of companies, of which we are one. And we're that tiny little purple dot amongst some other bigger players who admittedly are a little bit more advanced, but that's the value discrepancy. And that's the value opportunity for you, the investor, at the current juncture. What this also does is show the pathway. This is where we're heading. All these companies have done a lot of work in recent times, have market caps well over $100 million, getting close to $200 million. I think that our Bygoo Tin Project stacks up very well to their projects, as good as, if not better. And so that's where we're heading. So to wrap up, tin, you've got to be in it. If you believe in electrification, you need exposure to tin. The long-term fundamentals are excellent. Kelpie is already a very significant deposit. We're undertaking a 5,000 metre drill program that's underway at the moment. The results of that are going to be coming through in the next few months. I've got a strong belief that we have good potential to double that resource and make that a very large standalone project. I don't think I need to say anything more, Chrissy. I think if that's not compelling, I don't know what is. Thank you.